All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Killing Grounds by Dana Stabenow. This is book number 8. In her Kate Shugak Alaska Mystery Series, starring Kate Shugak, the police officer / investigator who deals with bunches of murders that happen in Alaska to the tune of, I think there's about 25 books in the series now. I've read and reviewed the first 7. So now if you want to watch those reviews before you watch this one, just type in my last name, Durfee, into your YouTube search bar, and then the name Dana Stabenow also into your YouTube search bar, and through some sort of pagan sorcery, that book review will magically appear upon your television screen. Like I said, I've got the entire Kate Shugak mystery series here on my shelf. I will pan through the library here, and I'll show you. Those are all my Kate Shugak Alaskan mysteries. So one of my favorite mystery writers, let's get into this book specifically, Killing Grounds. Came out 1998. Let's talk about the cover first. You know I love graphic design and cover illustration. One thing I like about this series is most of the covers follow this same pattern. They've got a nice Alaskan scene here with the same font and everything, and I like that they put number 8 on the spine and everything. It looks really good on the shelf. So came out in 1998, I said. Yes, I think I said that. This opens up with a lot of salmon and halibut fishing scenes. In fact, quite a few. One of the reasons I read these Dana Stabenow Alaska mysteries is because I grew up in Alaska, so everything about Alaska fascinates me still, even though I don't live there now. And one of the most Alaskan things in the world is salmon fishing. And she opens this book up with about 90 pages of literally families and people that make their living off of the fishing of salmon and halibut. And it just reminded me of how much people in Alaska just depend upon salmon, depend upon the fishing industry, and and not only that, but it's just almost like a way of life. It's like, I remember when I went salmon fishing with my father multiple times on the Copper River. And if you're from Alaska, you know where that is, and you know that that's a dangerous river. That river scares me. Even just looking at YouTube videos of it now scares me. It is so huge and so swift and so full of silt and so icy cold. I mean, you fall into it and you're just going to drown. I mean, it's full of whirlpools and waves, and it's just, oh my God, it's just a nightmare. But I remember salmon fishing on this thing, and just in Alaska, you could just, if you were an Alaska resident, you could just scoop up as many salmon as you wanted, and that's it. We would scoop them up literally with dipping nets, not just the fly fishing poles. We would just go in with and the salmon were so thick, especially if you were out in a crystal clear, like the Copper River was silty and you couldn't see into it, but some of the rivers were crystal clear, and when the red salmon would go up, it was like it was watching a crystal clear river turn blood red because the salmon were so thick. Let's get to the story. So, before we get to the story, one more fishing thing, which is in this. She talks about how the halibut, the heart of a halibut will stay beating for hours and hours after the halibut's dead, even if the heart has been cut out of the halibut and set aside. It'll just still sit there on the side of the boat beating, and it just freaks people out. I didn't know that, but it was in this book, so I'm believing it from this book. So Cordova, Alaska is where this takes place. I Googled Cordova. I had not been there as a kid. I didn't remember ever hearing of it as a kid, but it is a place, an actual place, a fishing, reliant on fishing. And one of the things about this book that points out is the oil spill, the Exxon Valdez oil spill, had happened. So this was set in 1998. This oil spill had happened some 5-6 years earlier, and the effects of that oil spill were still causing problems for the fisheries and the fishermen and the people that would go out to sea to fish for the halibut and the salmon. And it was a big problem. But anyway, we get a lot of character building in the first 90 pages of this story, where we get to meet these fishermen, their families, Kate Shugak, her dog, her relationships with the people, her relationships with her own mother. 90 pages in to this book is when the murder mystery finally starts. Yeah, it's only a 250-page book, but it's not until 90 pages that we get the murder. And it's a guy named Cal Meany. He's a cheat. He's a poacher. He's abusive. We've read about him for 90 pages, and then he's murdered. And Kate Shugak now has to solve the murder. Cal Meany was not only was he murdered, he was beaten, stabbed, and strangled. He was murdered in every type of way a guy could be murdered. And so anyway, and drowned. So beaten, stabbed, strangled, and drowned. He was murdered 4 different ways. Crazy. But we got to figure out how it happened. So Kate Shugak, our police, our investigator, the character that this whole series is, now she's got to figure it out. And it turns out that this Cal Meany, he was such a piece of crap that everybody's kind of celebrating his murder. They're all like, yay! He's gone. Even his wife and family are happy that he's dead. And of course they become the prime suspects. Until, and then this is a pretty, well, I can't say it's early on in the book because the murder doesn't take place till 90 days in. But shortly after the murder is discovered and his family is happy he's dead, and they are the prime suspects, well, then his daughter vanishes, which throws everything into it. Like, okay, so now he's gone. Now his daughter's gone. What's really happening? That's kind of the gist of this murder mystery that's set in this Alaskan landscape amongst the fisheries and the fishermen. And then at that point I could tell, okay, that's why the author waited 90 pages to have the actual murder take place. So that way when the daughter vanishes, then we can kind of, we know who she is. And so we kind of like, okay. Anyway, as far as my ranking of this is a solid 7.5 out of 10. I don't know if it was really one of my favorite Kate Shugaks. Most of the Kate Shugaks that I've reviewed have finished around 8 or 9. So this is probably like the least one that I've liked of the mystery series so far. Still, it's a dope mystery series. I really enjoy it, and I recommend people who like Alaska or mysteries get it.